side of the brain that you have is to break the karmic traditional thinking that has gone on in your clan and in your head and in your family. And many of you have taken big steps to do that. Let me show you a little mythological exercise to show you what went wrong somewhere along the way. If you open the Bible to the book of Genesis, and if you look at Genesis, and in Genesis chapter 6, you find that on page, whatever it is, 3, 4, I don't know. 5, okay. So it says, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth and daughters were born, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. So in other words, what you have here is the same exact thing as you. You have a human being with a brain, an angle of light, which is you, enters this as a fetus. Now, there was a problem. Initially, what the program here was that the human body would manifest the angle of light, everything would live in a harmony, and God could share the magnificence of the universe with us, so we could have fun too, and we could enjoy all the wonders of it. Somewhere along the way, the angle of light, which was the God part, fell under the pressure of the manifesting and growing structures of the brain and the flesh, and there was what was called the fall. Well, this thing continued to multiply itself and totally get out of control. And so people were coming, light was coming in, fetuses were being impacted by light and so forth. But as they came and as we came, the flesh, the brain became stronger and stronger and stronger, and it was impossible to overcome it. So what had to happen then was to wait until the Aquarian age. So we went through all of these various ages with angles of light coming from this direction and this direction, which in many cases were just strengthening the flesh, were just strengthening the brain, were just strengthening the power, the physical power, and we were dropping more bombs, we were making bigger bombs, we were slaughtering more people, we were polluting and damaging more of the earth, causing more of the structures of violence that we have. And waiting until finally the angle changed and it became the Aquarian angle, which has started to impact the brain and has started to cause now us to understand who we are and what our purpose really is. Your purpose, unfortunately, is defined by religion as to being saved. There is nothing to be saved from because you're not lost. Because you are not the person that's sitting in this room that we identify with each other. The people that are sitting in this room that you look at and identify as one another are constructions of your parents and your friends and your traditions wherever you come from. That's all you are. But the you, the light in the center, is who the real you is. That has nothing to do with all of this stuff other than you're fighting, trying to overcome all of this karmic pattern which has been set up by the friends and family and so forth. So there is nothing to be said. Your job is to break the karmic patterns of the traditions that have infected the minds of people on this earth so that the earth then turns and changes in a whole new direction that God had initially intended. That is your purpose. So it is not in any way, shape, or form to save you because you're fine. As I said last week, as soon as this body that you have dies, you're going to exit through the pineal gland at 186,400 miles per second. I'm out of here. You're gone, and you leave this thing here. And we'll talk about that. We'll show you that. We'll prove that. I talked to you about how when this energy leaves the brain through the pineal gland, and it first seeks water. And I'll go into detail at a point with you with that, and we will prove that you will seek water. You pick up molecular energy. The atom picks up molecular energy from the water, ascending then into the air. You're hit by photons back into a fetus, and all of this is done exactly the way it was done in the primordial point. Let me give you and we're not going to dwell here, but I don't know how many of you somebody can yell out to me, find the book of Job and look at Job 26, okay? Let me just show you something, and then we'll run away from it because I don't want to dwell on it now, but I just want to give you a little hint. I mean, as I said to you, when the sun comes out of the solstice on December the 25th, where does it go? It goes to Aquarius. It goes to the water. When Jesus comes out of the tomb, where does he go? He goes to the water. Okay, so this is exactly what occurs. This is what happens to the subatomic particles. But I just wanted to show you another tip in the Bible. If you're looking at Job 26, what page you say it's on? 449. 449. In Job chapter 26, if you look at verse 5, what does it say? Dead things are formed from under the waters and the inhabitants thereof. Okay? And if you'll speak to any scientist or physicist and you want to sit down and talk about the primordial regions of how life was created, you'll find that's exactly what happened, that it came from an interaction of the water, the sun, and the primordial waters and the steamy mist and all of this kind of business which created life. But that's where it goes. Now, last week we made a very interesting thing. And we had Judy Roscoe come up with Mike. And we had Bill Schultz and Joni Schultz, and we did a little shtick here. And what we said was that Judy got on a bus and went up to Canada. The bus had an accident, and she had total amnesia. And we said that Joni got on a bus and went to Florida, and the bus had an accident, and she had total amnesia. And so neither of them remembered who they were. And so Joni met a lifeguard named Mike and married him, and Judy met a hospital orderly named Bill and married him. So now you have Judy, who is no longer Judy because she doesn't even know what her name was, so she's Barbara, and she's married to Bill. And now you have Joni, who is no longer Joni because she doesn't know what her name was. She's Patty. And she's married to Mike. So the interesting thing is that neither Barbara or Patty remember that they had lived before. But they have. But as far as for practical purposes, Judy's life, which is now Barbara, her past life is gone. She died and is born again. She lived again. But what I thought we would do, and we won't make it too complex, we'll just feature Judy. Judy's back there smiling as she's, being featured. So we'll feature Judy, and we just want you to think of a few things, because what I'm trying to show you is that amnesia is obviously certainly an acceptable premise to consider when we think of us ourselves. Just as Judy is now Barbara and has a new family and a new life and a new career and new ideas and new hopes and new dreams and new fear, never ever even knowing that she had a previous existence. She doesn't know that. Same way of you and I, say. So Judy, who is now Barbara, has concerns about money. She has her family. She has her new husband. Maybe she doesn't know it's a new husband. She just has a husband. And then she has another concern. She goes to church. She never knew that she used to come here. She goes to church, and one of the questions she has is like we all have. How long I'm going to live, what's going to happen, and what's going to happen after I die. We all think that, because that's a question in our mind. She doesn't realize that she already has died. She doesn't know that she used to be Judy any more than we know who we used to be. Right? She doesn't know that. Now, how many of you have relatives who have died? I would hope so, because otherwise the place is going to be overrun with people. Okay, now, all of you at one time or another have gone to funeral parlors and you've all held somebody's hand and you've said, don't worry, we'll be together again someday. Someday we'll all see each other again. Haven't we? Judy, who's now Barbara, could care less, because she doesn't even know who those people are. Her mother, her father, her uncle, Grandpa Schwope, all of these people that died, and she wanted to see them all. She forgot they even exist. She didn't even know she was Judy. How the heck is she going to care about these other people? She's going to get up to the Golden Gate. They're going to say, Judy. She said, what are you talking, Judy? I'm Barbara. No, you're Judy. And she's going to say, you've been dead too long. Get away from me. So, the point that I'm trying to make is she has no desire to meet these people. Now, when she was Judy, she was living for the day when if she had to die, that she'd be rejoined with her family. She could care less. She doesn't even know these people exist. So it's irrelevant, isn't it? Doesn't make any sense to even consider anything like that. Now, her new husband, who is Bill, his mother dies. And Judy goes and she says, somebody, and they're all holding hands, and Judy is now Barbara, and she says, someday we're going to meet her again. She wants to meet her new husband's mother. She doesn't even care about her own mother because she doesn't even know who she is or who she was. So it's all based on the mind. It's all based on consciousness. It has no relevance whatsoever to reality. And there are people who have total amnesia. And these things happen. Everyone sitting in this room has had total amnesia. How many mothers have you had? How many fathers have you had? How many brothers and sisters and relatives have you? You don't even know who they are. All you are concerned about are the ones that you can remember now. I had a father who died when I was 14 years old. I wouldn't even know what the guy looked like. Because he is left here. But we'll get into that. So the idea then of a person rejoining people they knew as family members logically doesn't make any sense. It's irrelevant. And the Scripture in the Bible admonishes us not to consider what we are on earth. You see, look, here you come as light. You come into a little baby, the fetus in your mother's womb. The brain neurons start firing. You genetically start to become structured according to your family. It has nothing to do with God. It's all to do with your family. What you look like depends on who your father and mother married. See? So that's all set for you to bring. Then you come out of the womb. Somebody gives you a name. God didn't give you this name. Here you are, you've all got a name. Your mother, your father gave you the name. They created the name. And you've got a last name. You may be Jewish. A lot of people don't like you. You didn't even wet your pants yet, and people hate you because you got a name. I don't like them. Say, or you may be Italian, whatever you want. So let's say you're Jewish, you're Italian, whatever you got, and here you are. Now, people say, I want you start being trained. You shouldn't do that. In your house, you shouldn't do that. In some other house, depends. See? So everything, but your neurons in your brain start firing and firing to respond to all these things that are coming from the outside. And before you know it, they have created you and you're chaotic. All of this is the creation of the earth. All of this is the creation of people. Has nothing whatsoever to do with God. The part that has to do with God is this part. Now the point is this part which came in, is it totally overwhelmed by all of this brain stuff which was created by your family? In most instances, yes. Until somebody comes along and tells you that the real you in here, the job that you have to do is to erase all of this stuff that was given to you by your family, by your school, by your church, by all, and that is so hard, isn't it? And that is basically the salvation. Because what happens here? I'm not going to say names right now, but let's say that your grandpa, who you just can't wait, if you die, you want to get back up and see Grandpa's swope. Okay, but let's say, I'll just give him a number, we won't give him a name now. Let's say Grandpa's number 32. And let's say, for the sake of just hypothetical discussion, that your light angle is number 14. In this brain, you recognize Grandpa Al, or Grandpa Joe, whatever it was. When you exit as light, you will recognize him instantly as 32, not as Grandpa Al. And he will recognize you instantly as 14, not as who you are. And the two of you will be able to converse as to how well you did in breaking the chaos that's running loose on the earth. And you'll say, I didn't do too good. I got screwed up, although I found this place in the basement in Forth River. Okay? And basically, so what I'm saying to you is, yes, you will rendezvous with these people again, but not in the chaotic condition they were. And then they'll be moving back here to do this, and so forth and so on. So you have a whole, but I'm not, what I'm just telling you here is not a lot of pie in the sky. I mean, I don't do that here. I will prove this to you. Now, we will prove this to you scientifically. This is a fact. Okay. What will happen is a fact. So you will never lose who you are, because you're not who you are. What you are is what your parents and these crazy people wanted you to be. And here you are. Here I want to live forever. You know, why? Why would you want? But instantly as you leave, see, Princess Diana died. Princess Diana is in a coffin. It's over. She's dead. But the light that was her is very much alive, totally understanding what's going on, and seeking at this point the water, the molecular energy, into the air, to be hit by photon and return back into a fetus and begin this process again. Yes, ma'am. Do you want to come up here? Yeah. Well, would you stand up because I can't have a question if you don't want to. Would you like to turn around and look at?
If Grandpa's number 32, you're saying that he's gone too, and that's when you're able to recognize him. Yeah. Only if you're both gone.
Yeah. What do you mean gone? You're out of the body. You're dead.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, you're out of here.
Okay.
Because the only way you would recognize him here in your five senses is Grandpa. You look at a picture, that's Grandpa. But you have to remember that just like you were constructed by your parents and your friends and everybody, and you are what they wanted you to be, so is Grandpa. Don't remember that Grandpa was not a creation of God either. God's purpose is that you and Grandpa break the karma of because what the parents and what everybody has given us and the schools and all of the instructions they've given us have caused a chaotic condition on the earth. And that is what has to be broken. And we'll address that as well. Yes, want to stand up, please?
Okay, now,
turn around a little.
Grandpa seeks another body and comes back. Then how can he be in two places at one time?
Well, because it's light. He's every place at one time.
Okay.
Okay? It's a very good question, but just think of something for a minute. What we're talking about is light, all right? Light is everywhere. The light that is here, the air that is here, the light that is here, the invisible nature of this is just as much here as it is at the far end of the universe. You can't say it's here because can you grab it? Can you grab it in your hand? You can't grab it. Why? Because it's not there yet. It's here. But it's everywhere. See? And so then also, you're only a quarter of an inch. Your skull is only a quarter of an inch that separates you from this. And here, everywhere is everything. I mean, there is no time. How could there be time? The only thing that requires time is in here. But we'll get into that. I don't want to be complex about that. But it's a very interesting thing, see? Because the true nature of light is that it is everywhere. You can't confine it inside of a brain. But it is there to manipulate and work the brain. Now, let me show you a scripture, and let's take a look at it. Because here, remember, the bunch of people were talking to Jesus, and they said, well, this guy he gets married 7 times. His brother dies, and she marries his brother and marries the other brother, and he gets 7, so forth and so on. In fact, do you remember the movie, 7 Brides for 7 Brothers? Okay. If you look at page 799, on page 799, you'll see Matthew chapter 22. And in Matthew chapter 22, you look at verse 29. And Jesus is telling them, you err. In other words, you don't know what you're talking about because you don't know the scriptures and you don't know the power of God. Isn't that nice? Thank you very much. You don't know the scripture. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given her marriage, but are as angels of God. What are angels of God? Light. Angles of light. So here is Jesus telling you that when people leave the body, they're angles of light. They can't get married. They can't do all of that stuff. That's for people. See? And there's something else. But look what he says here. But as touching the resurrection of the dead, you also don't know what you're talking about. But haven't you read, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. What is that saying? This is what he's saying, and he could have been a quantum physicist. He's saying nothing can die. It is impossible. Because your consciousness is atom. It is light. It is impossible for it to die. The body that you're inhabiting is material. It is physical. It will waste away. It'll be made into something else in the earth, and off it'll go. You, as this particular form of atom, light, will go on. So here's Jesus saying, when people leave the body, they're angles of light, which I'm telling you, it is impossible to die. Now, I know that doesn't make you want that, because you can't, you're still in the body, you're still in this brain, and neurons are firing with all the traditional thoughts that you had from your family, saying, this guy's nuts, people die, don't listen to this. But you can't. And if you could pick up any book by any quantum physicist in the world, and they'll tell you death is absolutely impossible. And not only is death impossible, but we will prove that when this light leaves your body, it is aware. It is conscious. It is intelligent. It is now. So now you become depressed, sitting here a Sunday morning with me, because you're saying, I will never see Granny Farmer again. I will never see Uncle Henry. I will never see Mama, Papa, all these people. But who are these people? See? Who are these people? Who are you? When you entered the fetus in your mother's womb as light, as you were traveling in there, you could have been anybody. You could have been anybody. You want a scary thing? If my mother and my father, after they had produced the fetus, the light was dispatched, if you made a left turn, you could have wound up and been me. Oh, I know that's scary, but listen, take my point. I would have had it probably been you. Equally scary. Do you see what I'm saying? Is that when you enter, you could be anybody. It is when you get into that fetus that suddenly you are subjected to the genetics, the structure, and then when you come out in the physical form, you are subjected to all the traditional things. You are no longer of the universe. You're now part of your clan. Whatever your clan may be. The Mino clan, the Bianchi clan, whatever it is. They structured you. That's who you are. Nobody else. Totally subjected and created by neurons that would fire in your brain in obedience to all of these extracellular signals that are coming into your head, and you become what you are. Now, finally, when this nightmare is over, and you die. But you don't. Not only that, just before it is time to die, you will be triggered a message. You will have a message triggered to you. It's not unlike what happens, and Joan can talk to you about it, when you're about to get in trouble or you're liable to get hurt or whatever. There's something called the fight or flight syndrome. Your body kicks in. Your body anticipates that this is going to happen. It starts coagulating the blood first, and it starts sending adrenaline. It knows what to do. So if your body knows what to do in the fight or flight syndrome and pre the danger gets you in shape for it, what do you think it's going to do pre-death? It's all taken care of. It's all arranged for you. You stand outside and you're shaking and you're feeling so bad. And that's normal. We will always continue to do that. But the person inside here has been tipped off and knows exactly what's coming and knows exactly what to do. It's all taken care of by the light. Their baggage are packed. They're ready to go. The gate is open. Bang. And they exit at, I understand Princess Diana was going at 120 miles an hour when her car hit the pole, which is a terrible thing. Forget it. She left ahead at 186,400 miles a second. I'm out of here. Gone, say. Now, when she exits, when you exit through the pineal. The pineal is the seventh. That's what it is. It's at the point of the seventh chakra, the seventh point, okay? Seventh seal if you're into Christianity. Now, this is very important for you to understand. When she leaves, everything that was Princess Diana goes like a balloon. That's the end of that. When you leave here, you leave. You don't take Pat Toohey with you. You don't take Penny Morrison with you. You don't take the... They stay right here. Put them in a box, boys. That's the end of that. But you're out of here. Now, why do you leave everything? And why did Grandpa leave Grandpa here? And Grandma is still here. And all of these people are still here. But they left. Why? Watch. Turn, if you would, to page 637. In the Bible. And in the Bible, look at Jeremiah chapter 17. And in Jeremiah chapter 17, it says, on page 637, verse 21, "Take heed to yourselves and bear no burden on the Sabbath day, nor bring it in by the gates of Jerusalem." Whoa. Do you know what the Sabbath is? The Sabbath is the seventh. The gate of Jerusalem is the pineal gland. Jerusalem, which is above, is free and is the mother of us all. And when you exit at 186,400 miles an hour, you take none of the, excuse the expression, crap that you accumulated here. It's not allowed up there. Your name that your mama and daddy gave you stays. Your nationality, where you were born, stays. All of your hopes, your dreams, your fears, your guilt, all of it stays. You take no burden through the gate on the Sabbath. You take no burden through the seventh into the holy place. It's not allowed. Because why? You're going to stain it. Can you imagine if this was the religion wants, we're going to die and go to heaven? Do you imagine the condition of that place within 6 months? Can't bear. But when you leave here, you instantly become the light atomic force that you were, the individual, the person that you were, number 32, number 36, whoever you are, and all of this stays and is gone. And what has been accomplished with this that you've left here? You have started to break the karma of who you were. Joan and I, we talk about this. We have families that are both steeped in all the karmic traditions that have been created by mankind, the illusions of what life is, the fright about what really exists. And, I said to her, and we said to each other, one of the things that we can really say, we know this is a fact, we have broken the karma. We've broken the chain. They've even stood and they've said to us, Joan's uncle was a very wealthy guy. The guy died. He cut us out of his will. I even I was going to go down there and, with my missile and whatever. No, serious. But why did he do that? Because we had broken the karmic chain. We were no longer part of that. And so many of you have accomplished what God in heaven sent you here to do. You've got to break this. See? And you've started to crack it. You've chipped at it. You've started to break it. Because this earth has not run the way God had wanted it to run. And of course, this is what I'm trying to tell you. As you are inside of your brain breaking away at these karmic hurts and guilts and all of this stuff that has come down, something is happening in the sky. in the discovery of the planets. You remember the third eye that you've seen in the sky? All of that is coming just like John Wayne over the hill, coming to help you in breaking this cone. That's why the discovery of the planets that we did, the anatomical subatomic structures that we discussed, is all integrated with this. You're not alone in this effort that's going on. This is the time of Aquarius. You know about it? You heard about El Nino and all the stuff going on? Remember something. El Nino means little boy. The little boy is Ganymede, who was taken by Zeus up into heaven. And the little boy Ganymede, who was taken by Zeus up to heaven, did such a wonderful job that he was promoted to become a constellation. And his name is Aquarius. El Nino is here. Okay. So you cannot take any burden, so that none of you and all of your family and all of this stuff, everyone who is your family when they left here left themselves here. Whatever they've accomplished, most of them accomplished nothing, because most of them died before the angle of light changed in Aquarius anyhow. But they've got a chance now to come back, to make their mark, and to contribute, to do what God wants to do, to change this earth, because there's other earths that are going to be created and other things that are going to have to be done. What? What's the purpose? God simply says, this is fun, this is great, everybody together. Have a good time, enjoy yourself. And we haven't been able to do that yet. Okay? Okay. So then you say, well, then there's nothing. And I say, then there's everything. Jesus has already told you that outside of the body were angles of light, not as physical people. All that is the burdens of life stay here. So who goes into the realm of light? The brain that is you and is involved in all this crazy business stays. But you leave. Now let's just address this other thing. You've all have families, and I'll tell you, this is the fun part of this. Each one of the members of your family are part of the cluster that you are a member of in the kingdom of light. Okay? They're not, you didn't all come together just for no reason. Everybody that you are a part of or were a part of, your husbands, your children, your uncles, your aunts, all these different people. And some of them you might have had bad times with. But remember, you had bad times with because they were a prisoner and couldn't overwhelm the activity that was going on in their brain. But when you leave as an angle of light, they are part of the same cluster that you are part of there. All right? Now, so who leaves? Now, let me give you some names. Don't worry about it, okay? Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. Judy, here, there, left, okay? Joan, here, there, Larrick. Penny, here. I want to make sure I got this right, Penny. Bliss. Vinny. Here. There. First. Down. What happens? Let's take these names then, which are light names, and say, okay, when Judy, who is left, exits through the pineal gland at 186,100 miles an hour, she goes to see her uncle who died. Left sees Strawn. And Lith and Strawn know each other like that. Both of them are freed from this. Both of them are still in the same cluster. Both of them knows what the job is, what they have to do. Penny leaves. Melissa exits through the light. Tell me somebody in your family who's died.
My mother.
What's her name? Arinsa. Nothing to do with Florence anymore, nothing to do with all the stuff, nothing to do with any of that. The discussion is how well did we do in breaking, and Melissa says, gee, I really started to make some progress. Arinsa says, I never knew anything about that, but I do now. Go back. So we start to communicate. And understand all of these are part of your cluster out there in light as they were part of your family here. But they are not the same person. They do not carry the same burdens. They do not carry the same traditions. All of that is gone because now you are part of the atomic, nuclear, light, life, kingdom, energy cycle. That's God. So what are you doing here? Your purpose then is as these angles of light inside of this brain to break it, to chip away, to stop it, to redirect it so it doesn't continue to function in the way that it has because it has been destructive. And God has been displeased. It wasn't necessarily your fault. It happened a long time ago, as we've read about in the Bible. Something overwhelmed the light forces inside, and the brain became more demonstrative of the creation of man than it was of the creation of God. So what is your job? Page 617. And if you look there, and in the book of Isaiah, in Isaiah chapter 58, Isaiah chapter 58, if you look at verse 6, is not the fast that I have chosen to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that you break every yoke? That's your job. How do you do it? By breaking the karmic illusion that says you are set apart. You are not set apart. You are part of the kingdom of light. You are part of the cluster of the oneness of the universal light. And you rejoin that and you flow into a harmony with it. And as you understand through the scriptures and you understand through the anatomy that we've shared with you and you understand through the planetary movements and you understand through the subatomic quantum that you are one with all that is life in the universe, then you have broken the chain that says, I am part of this group, and we do not believe your group, and you can't do this, and we can do that, and all of this kind of stuff. You say, I am flowing in a oneness. I am one with this whole universal harmony. I have broken the yokes. I have broken the bondages of traditions and religions and socialization of governments, and I am one flowing with the universe. I have broken the karmic chain. That is your work. And that is why I am talking to you now, for you are of my cluster. So indeed, you will leave and you will return to Atom and you will regain your name, and instantly you will go on with your experience. And you will see those who had been trapped inside of brains that you knew, and you see them in this new realm of light. And you will talk about the failures of some who could not overwhelm this energy because they... You see, your light force that you are is very much alive and very much active in another place. When we get into quantum, we'll talk about that. I won't worry about it now. But remember something. What you're doing inside of here in trying to break this as an agent of light from God is because of this. If you would, please. Page 924. I won't keep you that much more. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard of existentialism? Existentialism is very interesting. Existentialism says that it's impossible for you, it's impossible for anybody to perform in a successful manner the rigors of life. Do you realize that from the time that you're able to understand anything, you have to decide what's right and what's wrong? What to do and what not to do. Where I should go and where I shouldn't go. You do that, you never stop doing that. And the problem with it is, there is no objective answer to that. If you're a Jewish person, the Jewish will say, you shouldn't do that. The Catholic will say, it's okay to do that. And the Protestant will say, well, it's okay to do it, but you shouldn't do it like they do it, you should do it like we do it. So what are you going to do? This is, you're guilty. And so what you try to do then is, if you ever then try to abide by your clan's rules, you have to understand that your clan's rules are different than other clan's rules. So when you say, should I do this or shouldn't I do this, you may do this because your clan says to do it, but you have to remember there's a lot of other clans that you shouldn't do it. And so then, what does that create? Right. And then you say, I know I should do this, but I'm not going to do this. Now what has happened? You have created something firing neurons in your brain saying, guilty, guilty, guilty. You're guilty. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. Not only then, after this happens for a while, you're guilty. After a short period of time doing this, you're crazy. Because you don't know. That's existentialism. Basic is very, very, absolutely true. Absolutely true. There's no possible way that anybody knows what they should do because what's good here, what's not so good over there, whatever. You know? Depends where you are, depends what clan you belong to, whether it's okay. Go 65 miles an hour in the parkway, you get a ticket. Go 125 miles an hour on the Autobahn and people are passing you. Who cares? What? Real quick, and then you go. But we have a lot to do. I hope, you know, you heard some strange stuff today. I don't know if you're right. Don't tell your friends this without sitting down and going over with them, you know. Quiff and lift, they may not understand. Yes?
I have a question.
Come, could you stand up? You got to hold it. Whoa. Stand up, please.
When the group all leaves together, and say Grandpa dies long before me, and I'm in his group, that's why there's different times when we come back, different times, that there's never a set time of when we come back. Because if we're waiting for that cluster, this so-and-so in the cluster might have died 50 years before I'm in that cluster. And is that why the difference is of the time?
Well, there could be a difference of time here, but you have to remember that in the realm of light, there is no time.
There is no time.
Time does not exist. I mean, if you take your head off and you stand there without your head. No, seriously, I'm very serious. The only thing that makes time is because you're confined in here.
I'm saying our thinking here then, our head here.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Why there would be...
it could be. We'll explore that. But that's a good point. We'll explore it.
You could equate that there's no time. When you meditate, there's no time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, the people that go into a coma and they go into a coma today and they wake up 20 years from now, it's an instant. But I don't know. So there is no time. Okay. Real quick, the reason that you are inside of the brain and God has assigned you as angles of light and now has sent this Aquarian at a different angle. Nothing could have been done prior to this because the angle of light did not come in at the correct angle to energize the part of the brain that would recognize this. That's why it took 499,000 years for people to invent a light bulb. The angle of light that was the intuitive part that comes down, which we call Aquarius, wasn't ready until now, and now it is hit. Real quick, page 924, I just want to show you why the Bible says that you have to do this stuff, okay? Romans chapter 8 and verse 7. Because the carnal mind is enmity against God, it is not subject to the law of God, neither can it be. Neither can it be. It's over. It doesn't make any difference how good or anybody. See the problem we get into in all of our religious things, and this is your new thing here, okay? I'm not talking about people who break the law and beat up people. I'm talking about people who may be different than you are, okay? You have to realize you cannot change people. But what you can change is the way you react to them. And as you start to change the way you react to people, you start to accept these unusual things that these people do, see, then you start to flow in a harmony, realizing that the cat and the dog, will just learn how to tolerate one another and just... I mean, I have a cat and I have two dogs, and the cat never says, these dogs, they got to get saved and they're going to hell. He just, get away from me. Yeah. Okay, so there is your challenge. The one who is trapped within its tentacles of fear and guilt, okay, seek to break and to untrap ourselves, and then we can send out this energy that can free other people. And your knowledge of this will help other people to become free. It says in Ephesians 4:22, put off concerning the former conversation the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lusts, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind. To have a new mind. And Romans 12:2 says, be not conformed to this world, but transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is good and acceptable and the perfect will of God. Okay? Okay, I think we've done enough. So we have a long way to go. We have to explore the primordial deep. I have to prove to you where the energy goes after it leaves the brain, and so forth. And then we'll talk about further entities who are part of your cluster and so forth and so on, and introduce you down the line. We'll see. But it's really interesting. But please, I don't want you to separate, and this is what's very, very important to me. I didn't stand up here with all of these planetary discoveries and Hubble's eye in the sky, just to entertain or something, and about the subatomic and about the bosons and all of this stuff. All of these things we're teaching in this order because they're all part and they interrelate. What we're talking about now, it's really a thing. What happens when you die? That's kind of a silly thing. Maybe we should kind of change it as, what happens when the body that you have no longer can hang on to you, because you don't die. And I want you to really understand that. And that all of these people that were so meaningful to you are so meaningful to you and were so much a part of your life and are so much a part of your love because they are part of the same cluster that you've been part of for eternity. And in this kingdom of light, and that's the way this was all created by God. But He wanted you to be able to share the same love here. Would you want to stand up, please? And
I have a question. The cluster thing. Like Princess, you talk about, use her as an example. If she went over the water and got hit by the thing again, and would she come back in that same family, in that same cluster?
Well,
or does she wait till all of them get there and then they come back as a group?
No, she would come back instantly. I mean, almost instantly in the realm. You have to really look at that, Judy, in the same way that you look at life. Jesus is in the tomb 3 days and 3 nights. Why? Because the sun is in the solstice 3 days and 3 nights. Everything comes out of the tomb in 72 hours. That's what leads me to think that this energy totally leaves the body in this particular area in 72 hours. It's probably a good idea, if somebody dies, you stay around the house area for about 72 hours, and then it's gone. And it goes to the water. The sun goes to the water. Jesus goes to the water. It goes to the air. The sun goes up to Aries. Jesus goes up to sit at the right side. It then goes to Leo. It comes back into the body. And all of these things then, say, probably take about 9 months.
Okay, but my question really has to do with the cluster thing. Mm-hmm. Because we're supposed to be breaking that karma, would she come back and have the same, be in relation with the same entities to continue to work on that karma?
Very possible. Very possible. She could come back as a daughter of, what's her kid's name?
You're supposed to hold in front of you.
Oh, no, she's right. What is her kid's name? Princess William? She might come back as Princess William's son.
Okay.
I mean, who knows?
The karma that we're breaking is it only religious tradition, or could it be things like alcoholism?
No, it has nothing to do with any of that. Except for a minute, let me explain it to you. The karma is the illusion, okay? The karma is simply the illusion that says, I am doing this or I am doing that. You are doing nothing. Because when you leave, this body goes right down the chute again. It has nothing to do with that. The karma is simply not recognizing that you are part of Adam, you are part of the universal whole, you are part of this oneness. You are not part of a particular religion, social group, part of a nationality, live in a particular place. You are part of life. You are part of the entire complex of life. What do we find? God's name is what? Adam. You return to Adam. And you are Adam, and you are part of it. Once you understand that, then you're freed from all of these types of questions, even that you ask. And you ask them legitimately, but you become freed from all of that. That's totally irrelevant. Who drinks, who smokes, all of this stuff is all man-created crap. It has nothing to do with this. Breaking the karma is simply allowing people finally to understand, I am part of a universal oneness with the cosmos. I flow in a harmony. I flow in a harmony. And I do have clusters of light that are part of me and part of my love, see? And when we come back, we start to chip and break further, assisted by the eye in the sky and all that that's coming down. We are part, and we'll flow. Once we understand that, then we no longer have a tribe or a clan to belong to on the earth. Because now I belong to the cluster, if you would, of light. I belong to the kingdom of light. My nationality is light, and my name really is I am Adam. I am son or daughter of Adam. So that's basically it. And it has nothing to do with coming back and have to work out, oh, I used to drink, so I have to work. It has nothing to do with that. It simply has to do with breaking. I used to think that this is the way this happened. I realized that was an illusion. I realized it was superstition. I realized now this is the big picture, that I flow in a harmony with light, and I flow as Adam in a harmony with the great Adam, and I flow back to it and then restore it for one reason only, to break the complex mindset that has taken over in life and has caused so much fear and hurt and guilt and violence.
Remember that when Uncle Jimmy did cut us out of the will, that the baby rabbit died in our backyard, and that was our main concern. We didn't really care about the money.
That's funny. Yeah. That is true. I got to examine my head. We got cut out of a lot of money, and the only thing we were concerned with, we had found this little baby rabbit.
Well, we didn't find it.
Who found
Our dog brought it in the house, okay? And it was like a little mouse.
That baby rabbit would be alive today, except I tried to feed it.
Too much.
And I opened its mouth and took a thing, and I said, you've got to drink. Well, I filled the whole thing up with it. It was only this big.
But do you remember that when my brother called and told us about that, that didn't matter. What mattered?
We can't talk about that now. We got to take care of the rabbit.
The rabbit. When the rabbit died, that was like. See, that's what I put in with the universal.
Let me ask you this: do you think Uncle Jimmy, as Quiff, would have maybe a change of heart?
Uncle Jimmy, maybe he'll come back in our next cluster. But my Uncle Jimmy was very good to me as a kid. I loved him. He was like my favorite uncle.
He wasn't my favorite uncle, I'll tell you that.
But because he was always really good for me. But another thing was, before my brother called and told us this, a message came in my head. Uncle Jimmy knocked you out of the will. And so when my brother called, he says, I have something really disappointing and horrible to tell you. And I said, you don't have to tell me. I know what it is already. And, but, and it's just like, it didn't matter. All that mattered was that little baby rabbit. Right. And then God taught us a parable about that baby rabbit, too, because the baby rabbit, you overfed it. And he taught us that everybody that was going to come to the church, they have to get things on their own time. Don't overfeed them.
That's important, and that's why if people don't come, they don't come. And if they don't come for a year, they don't come for a year. It's just none of my business. It is none of my business. I stand here, I'm not asking you to believe any of this stuff. I'm simply trying to get you to think. I'm simply trying to get you to say, gosh, we've looked at thousands of years of this. This has not been the way that life should be in this beautiful place. Maybe there is an alternative. Maybe we have been very superstitious because we haven't understood the ways and the writings of the people of the ancient times. Maybe we never realized that there were such things as subatomic particles that are intelligent and move in intelligent ways and think and do all of these wonderful things. So maybe now, I sit here and, it's not my job to say, well, how many people come? It is none of my business. And if you don't want to come, I'll sulk, but, that's up to you. But if you do, I think we'll have some immensely exciting things coming very close. And if you look at where you've come with me, through the planets, through the body, through the subatomic particles, and now to the movement out into the area that nobody has ever touched before, it's pretty interesting stuff. And we still have a lot of things to do to document and to share with you. Is this over? Have we stopped the... oh, it's over. And now a word from